This is Scott with Android Guys. I'm here with
Luke.
What's
up?
It's Pixel 6 Day.
Yeah, it is.
So we're recording this on the 19th.
Yep.
So this is going to air about almost a week from now.
Sure.
What do you
so
think?
much. Oh, man.
We knew pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Going in terms of specs. Mm-hmm. That stuff was really no secret.
Yep.
Leaked. Google even formally acknowledged it, telling us it would come later this year.
Yep.
And they've been advertising it.
Yep.
And some of the features. But as you and I sat there and watched that product unveiling.
Oh, my gosh.
And they really demoed some of the features. And I mean, I don't know about you. It really makes me want a Pixel phone again as my daily driver.
Oh, I will be getting one of them's.
The features that we saw, I think, is what really sells it. And that's,
absolutely.
That's what makes Pixel phones feel, to me, like their cohesive experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's thought out, intentional. It's the best of Android. When you get stock Android, that's one thing,
Sure.
the way it looks and feels.
Sure.
But when you have Pixel, there are other features that take advantage of that hardware.
Yes.
The Tensor chip, the AI, the
Yes.
Titan, the security, all of the visual core stuff for the camera.
Yeah. I mean, so I'll say this. I'm excited for features that I wasn't even really thinking about.
Yeah. And well, as we did the history of Android,
Yeah.
and we look at some of that stuff, we talked about that. I didn't know I needed this or wanted it.
Yeah.
Now I depend on it.
Right.
And as you see what they're doing with some of the camera stuff and the live transcription and translate, just the way, you could talk into it for voice to text.
Oh my gosh. That's one of the things when they talked about how that's changed, I was just like, yeah,
I'm done saying comma, question mark.
Yeah, I think, and we've said this in the History of Android podcast, they're continually evolving Pixel line to be the phone that you don't have to think about.
Mm-hmm.
It just works how you think it should work. And, they're pointing that to the Tegra chip. That's the...
Oh, the
Tensor chip,
yeah.
Sorry. Tegra was...
NVIDIA Tegra.
Yeah,
we've been talking about
We've done that too.
Yeah.
The Tensor chip is what makes a lot of these processes available for them now. But, I mean, it's going to have an amazing camera. We know that. There's a lot of cool features in that camera. The ability to... spot remove things. That's huge.
Fixing blurred faces.
Using just the fact of your camera will see an object in motion, recognize a face in motion, activate a secondary camera on the fly, and then mesh those photos together to give you the most perfect picture.
Right.
Is crazy to me.
Yeah.
And it's not a setting that you have to set. It from the looks of the presentation, it just does that.
Yeah, you don't imagine you're going to have to launch your phone into face unblur mode.
Right.
With the intention of taking blurry photos.
Right.
It's just going to do it. I like the idea of what they showed with capturing, intentional motion.
Yeah, so active blur.
Yeah, putting something where it was like the waterfall going over the edge, or somebody standing next to the subway train, and putting that motion in there where it knows that helps tell a better story. That image is much more appealing.
Yep.
A bicyclist, blurring the background.
Yeah.
It starts to really dial up you start to really look professional.
Yeah.
When you're taking those things, and every time I go out with a group of people and they're like, well, Scott will come, he'll take pictures, or I always grab a Pixel.
Yep.
Even if that's not the phone I'm using, I have a Pixel that I'll take just for Wi-Fi.
Right.
And I'll just switch over to portrait mode and play around with different things.
Yeah.
And let the phone do all the work for me. I can't wait to see what it does for me.
Yeah, it's just going to be even easier. And so I can't wait for, all the pixel peeping and all of the, the photography sites to be like, there's going to be two things. They're going to be like, this is amazing. And then they're also going to be like, this isn't amazing.
Yeah, you still can't do this.
Or it's not as good as if you do it in camera or if you have the settings. But I think the beauty of it is everybody has access to it now.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a pro camera app to change your shutter settings and your ISO settings and all of these things and know the settings that you need to get the photo you want, because you can do that now. There's apps where you can get motion blur and do long exposure photos and get all that stuff. But now you can just do it
almost point and shoot.
Yeah, and I think that's great.
Yeah. Well, and I think the best part is the price point that they came out with.
Oh my gosh, I was surprised.
Yeah, it puts it right in the thick of that. You should really consider this.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are.
Yep.
I've converted more than a few of my friends to go Pixel.
Yep.
And they're constantly looking to upgrade.
Yep.
Not that they need to, but they're just constantly like, I'm ready for the next Pixel.
Sure.
And they don't want to go with something else.
Right.
But just seeing this, I'm really okay as a user with a phone that's a year and a half old.
Sure.
Pixel 4a, works just fine for me. But when I see this stuff, I'm like, I need to get my hands on that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Android 12, which looks great.
Yep.
Feels great.
Material.
You.
Yeah.
And when it's, 6 gig of RAM, 128 is plenty.
Yes.
For everybody.
Yes.
I mean, if you get into games and stuff, you're going to want a little bit more.
Sure.
But for that money, you're getting a 6.4-inch screen at a 90 hertz refresh rate, IP68, Gorilla Glass Victus, fast charging capability. I mean, that's a really compelling package.
$599.
$599.
I mean, that's...
And they look cool.
They
that's,
do.
The original Pixels looked unique and looked coolish.
Sure.
But it got a little tired looking after a couple generations with that black.
Yep.
Then they went to the 4 where it was just like the flat color in the back. The design language looks like a Pixel phone.
Yep.
But it looks unique. They've done a really cool thing. Like it's all around attractive.
Yes.
And given how much they've advertised it already this year,
Yeah.
I feel like they might have finally gotten it.
Yeah.
We'll see how it does in terms of like carrier availability and market sales and all that stuff. But it kind of feels like they're ready to step up and advertise the whole experience in a way that Apple has been.
Yeah.
And being able to get away with it.
Yeah.
Because, for years as an Android fan or enthusiast, early adopter, it was always about specs and capabilities and features. And then Apple would come out with something and everybody's like, oh, Android's always had that. But it's when Apple's perfected it and ready to talk about it, everybody wants it.
Right.
And I feel like Google has done that now. They've perfected some things. If you look at the first generation of Pixel and the way the camera was with just the one lens and how good that was, and they weren't in a hurry to add more lenses because that doesn't do much.
Right.
It's what's going on with the AI, what's going on with, the smarts.
Yes.
I'm really excited about this phone.
Yeah.
And I think as it gets out, other people will see that and go, oh, I want that.
Right. And the other thing I think is really cool that I'm excited to see what happens is a lot of these features that are, Pixel features are going to be available to third-party apps.
Yeah. Like that Snap stuff?
Yeah.
Launch right in, double tap your phone to launch into Snap?
Double tap the back of your phone.
Right.
There's no There's no fingerprint sensor. There's no like.
Right. You can authenticate afterwards. It's kind of like double tapping the power button to launch into the camera.
Right.
And then if you want to go through and look at your other stuff, you authenticate.
Right.
Here, you do that, go in and look at everything, and then if you want to authenticate, then you do that.
Well, but I think you're not pressing the power button. You're just tapping the back of the phone.
It's like a gesture.
Yeah.
Hot keyed in.
So that means that leads me to believe there's sensors on this phone in other places. So what other things?
How else can you leverage that?
Right. What are other manufacturers, other companies going to be doing with those sensors? So this is a very interesting device release. It's very exciting. It does so much. It is the smartest phone.
Yeah, and it leans more in the direction of revolution than evolution.
Absolutely.
Which is important.
Yes.
When you're talking about a flagship, because as we've seen with plenty of types of devices over the years, you kind of get ho-hum about them.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is the new whatever.
Yeah.
But this is kind of like...
Oh, cool. 4 more megapixels. Okay.
Yeah.
It still looks like a picture.
Oh, you went from 4 to 6 gig of RAM, and you got more storage. What's the difference in processor due to me? You know, or for me.
Right.
We're here. It's you show somebody like, whoa, I want that. Like, there's some things in there that I'm like, I could really get used to that.
The text to speech where you can do translate in text, where you can speak English, and then send it to somebody that speaks Japanese, and it translates it, and then you send. Yeah.
So they can read it, and all you did was say it,
right?
Or the idea that if you change a name, the next time you talk about that person, it automatically puts in the right name.
Yeah, the right spelling.
The right version of, like, and I've got this with my friend Sean.
Yeah.
When I use voice to text, it defaults to SEAN.
Right.
For Sean.
Right.
And it's like...
Wait, that's not how you spell it?
No. I got news for you, dude. Your buddy's name isn't spelled that
way.
Sorry, bro. Yeah, and then, like, being able to just talk naturally.
Yeah.
To say, hey, are we still on for tomorrow? Instead of, hey, are we still on for tomorrow? ?
Right.
Like, I've gotten used to that. My son, he's 18. He talks into his phone with comma ? And it really impresses me sometimes because I hear him. He knows where to place some of that, syntax, grammar stuff.
He has knowledge of grammar.
Yeah, he'll shoot me a message, and I'm like, dude, all right, nice work with the comma, but now it's going to do all that for us.
Yeah, it's very, very exciting.
Yeah. Let's talk about a couple of other tech things. These are general tech.
Yeah.
We've got a desk here in the office recently.
Yeah.
Standing desk.
Yep.
Flexispot sent one over to us. They actually let us pick out the design.
Yeah.
The color, the finish. That's a laminated top, and it's got, I think there's like 8 or 10 colors to choose from.
Yeah.
They have a variety of sizes and like length and depth. Man, it's a nice table.
It is. Very nice.
Compared to as we were setting up shop here, much quieter than the table we have.
True.
Cheaper than the table that we have. I mean, we're looking at, I think that's a $3.99 table. It gives you the ability to set some presets.
Yeah.
Where some tables you can say, I want it to just go all the way up or all the way down.
Right.
Here you can set a height, since you and I are two different heights. I can set, a memory to say 1, we'll set it to Luke, 2, we'll set it to me.
Yep.
And then there's a cool feature where it will automatically tell you you should stand up.
Yeah.
There's like a reminder mode you can turn on that after 45 minutes of sitting at the desk, it'll tell you should stand.
Yeah.
Or after it's up, you should sit. It's pretty cool. Didn't take long for us to put together.
Not at all.
It was 10 minutes.
Yeah.
15 at best.
Yep.
And that's because we were sharing the Allen wrench and the screwdriver.
Yeah.
I love it. I like the color of it. I think we have... I don't want to butcher that. I don't want to get it wrong. It's like distressed wood kind of color.
Yeah, it's some sort of light colored wood.
Mm-hmm. But they have a bunch of different colors for that. They also have bamboo as an option, and some real wood options too. So
you can see some of those in various pictures we put out in the last couple weeks.
Yeah,
some products, shots, and stuff. You can see that color.
Yeah, I mean the table we're at right now is like a dark brown.
Yep.
And when it comes to taking pictures of earbuds and things with black tips, and
real hard to see.
Yeah, so we like that table because it has a nice contrast to it, and it looks pretty cool. I mean, it matches pretty much any decor. And the legs, you have the option to choose the colors of legs too.
Oh, nice.
So you can mix and match these to kind of whatever your office is or your personal setting. So
it's quiet too. I don't know if we mentioned that.
Super
it is quiet.
And yeah, because I mean, both legs are doing the lifting, and it doesn't feel like it's stuttering or any type of, it doesn't feel like it's a load.
Yeah,
lift that
there's
thing.
no like whine for it to go up or anything. It's just a nice quiet motor.
How much weight do you think you could put on top of that?
Whew, I don't know. 150 pounds maybe?
Plus another 125.
Really?
It will hold 275.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, so
if you have that much on that desk, you have too much on your desk.
Well, that's the thing. Is like if you want to put a couple of monitors, like if it's your main workstation, you can put 2 monitors on there. Ours is a 48 by 24, I believe. So it could be your permanent desk, your main desk. If you wanted to put 2 monitors, maybe a hub, maybe a printer.
Yeah.
But then other than that, you're looking at like paperwork, books.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. You're pushing 300 pounds. I don't know what you're putting on your desk.
Right.
I mean, I look around at our other desks here, and I don't see anything
that's
even close to that. Right. Old monitors.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. If you got a CRT or something, I can see that.
Not that old, but some of the earlier bases for some of those. Yeah, and CRT. Shout out to cathode ray tubes. Let's bring those back.
No. Let's not.
One other thing that I had a note here to talk to you about.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if you know what it is. And it's not even related to anything we've reviewed.
Ooh, okay.
It's called the Dash Mini Grill.
Yeah. Tell me about this. I saw it in the notes, and I was confused.
Yeah. They're about $15.
Okay.
It's like a tiny waffle maker.
Okay.
Like a 3-inch diameter. You can use it to put in. We got ours in a 2-pack. So you have one that when you shut it, it kind of makes it like a waffle design. So if you want to pour the batter in there.
Yeah.
The other one is just flat. So if you wanted to pour, like, say, egg in there, you would make like a egg patty kind of, So if you're doing like a
so it like seals sandwich on the ends.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So it's kind of like one of those pie pan thing or pie.
Yeah.
You stick in a
it's
fire.
It's like a George Foreman without the angle.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we got those because they're nice for maybe like crack an egg, throw it in there with some shredded cheese, and then maybe some bacon bits or sausage crumbles.
Okay.
Shut that thing, let it cook.
Sign me up. I'm in.
Yeah, and they come in some cool colors. We got ours. It was like teal. She ordered. I don't know where she ordered it from, but we're trying to eat healthier. Trying not to do as many breads and things.
Sure.
And so, it's nice and easy to crack an egg, mix it up, throw it in there, and a couple minutes later, pop that thing out. So, get yourself a Dash Mini Grill.
Dash Mini Grill. Yeah. You said like $15?
That's it.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Save you a little bit. You don't have to wash a pan. Are they pretty easy to clean out?
It is. If you pour in like maybe a little bit too much, it'll kind of drip around the edge, but you can kind of go through and kind of like it gets crispy, knock it off with a fork or a knife or something.
Nice.
But we don't even really. You don't have to spray it with like Pam or anything. It just
it's a nonstick surface already.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah. So if you're looking to up your breakfast regimen or your snack game,
can you grill like a burger patty in it?
I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
I would do what I've done is, and I've tried both the waffle version and the flat version, is I'll mix up egg and scallions and cheese and bacon bits.
Okay.
And then just kind of make like a little patty out of that.
Yeah.
And then just eat that.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. So if you have like meats and cheeses and you want to make like a tiny little grilled cheese pocket,
Yeah.
do that.
All right.
Yeah, so that's all I've got hardware, tech-wise.
Yeah.
So this Freeform, this is our second one.
Yeah.
Let's get into the weeds.
Okay.
We're going to wander off the reservation a little bit and talk about random
non-tech things,
non-mobile, non-Android, things you wouldn't expect us to talk about. But
Sure.
we still have opinions about.
Right.
I've kind of grouped these by topic.
Okay.
What you been watching, Luke? I've got some notes. I don't know if you have the notes in front of you.
I do have the notes. So I have been watching. One I think we both watched was Squid Game.
Yeah.
I think most of America has watched it so far.
Yes.
It is the talk of the town.
For now.
Talk of the water cooler for now.
Yeah. It will be very interesting to see how long it has its moment.
Right.
And if it moves beyond, I'm wondering, beyond Halloween.
Sure.
Low-hanging fruit for the costumes.
Yeah.
It's going to be easy to dress up
Yeah,
like
you
that.
get a green jumpsuit or a pink jumpsuit.
Yeah.
Spray painted face mask with a shape.
Yeah.
Good to go.
I think we'll see a lot of that, and then I'll just wonder how much of it's kind of like a year from now. Hey, remember Squid Game?
Yeah.
I don't know how long it'll stick with us.
Right.
I had finished it.
I finished it also.
So, without diving into spoilers,
Sure.
would you recommend it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would recommend it. It's a good it's an interesting take on just human personalities. What would you do?
Yeah, it feels Black Mirror-ish.
Yes.
Adjacent.
Yep. Reminds me of this. This probably would never happen, but it could. And what would you do?
I would not be surprised if there was a documentary that says we've just exposed this underground thing.
Right. Real life Squid Game.
Yeah. This has been going on under everybody's nose.
Sure. It's interesting. It's very much I found myself asking myself a lot during this show, what would I do? Mm-hmm. How would I handle this? Or, man, why are they acting that way? Well, I don't know. Would I act that way? Like,
you're not a degenerate gambler, though.
It's true. But in that situation, if, so the premise of the show is the people are brought together to play a game in a chance of winning money because everybody that's invited to play the game has problems with money.
It's a voluntary. We're not going to force you to play it, but once you're here, you got to play by our rules.
Right. If you want to play the game, here's a chance to win some money and change your life. And you find out, the gameplay is way more serious than you think. Mm-hmm. And there are only a certain amount of rules. And I think that's where it kind of just goes, oh, yeah, there are only a certain amount of rules. So this is fair.
Is it, because there's no rule against this.
Does that mean it's against the rules?
Right.
And so that question is pushed and explored. And it's an intense show. It's a violent show. It's a gory show. It's an emotional show. It is not it's not a all ages show.
No,
definitely.
It's not a young adult teen thing, but they're gonna come to it.
Yep.
It's the one that kids are gonna be like, have you seen Squid Game?
It's also not an English first show.
No.
So I recommend if you are going to watch the show, I recommend watching it in Korean with the English subtitles. because the dubbed is terrible.
There's a lot of memes about that.
Yeah?
Right now.
I haven't seen
on
them.
Instagram. Now you will, because we're talking in front of our phones.
Oh, yeah. All right. Hi, phones.
You'll see some things about the translation.
Yeah.
And how it's done.
Yeah.
I watched it with the translation, and I've watched a couple of other shows on Netflix that way. Movies, I've had plenty of exposure to that stuff. I think I realized you and I talked early on about how far we were into the show, but we've both fallen asleep.
Yes.
And I think part of that for me was because it's all done in post, like the sounds and things. That all that dialogue is ADR. It's added later.
Yeah.
And it's very even.
Yeah.
And it's almost like there's no ambient noises going on while they're talking.
Sure.
There's no like things happening. It's just very intentional. Just the dialogue.
Right.
And the levels, even when somebody screams and raises their voice, it feels very flat and in a studio or booth kind of sound, and not in that space.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been why I fell asleep a time or two early on.
So I had to change that. So I changed. I started watching the dubbed, and I changed to the original with English subtitles. And I think it's a way better experience.
Okay.
Yeah, man. I don't, without giving spoilers away, I think what I said to you earlier is I liked the show less as I watched it more. I think maybe just because it made me realize if I was in that situation, I don't know if I would act as much like the main character as I hope I would. Yeah, it gets pretty intense. And there's some intense choices.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Does it stick the landing?
No.
Okay. And let me ask you a follow-up. Netflix comes out and says, Season 2, greenlit, we're moving forward, expect another season. What's your first reaction?
No.
No.
But my second very, very, very immediate question would be, what's the story of the second season?
Yeah.
If it's a continuation of the first season, I would say, okay, maybe. But if it's just a new take on Squid Game, a new Squid Game, no thanks.
Here's my fear is that there will be.
Yeah.
And that I don't know how much they'll lean into the direction of it, if Netflix will, or if somebody, some studio or something says we need to do more of this, and dial up the gore or the puzzles in a way that like Saw did.
Yeah, so that's my fear is if they make more of them, it just becomes more just shock value.
How do we turn this up another degree? There's some story that I would not mind some resolution.
Sure.
We could talk off camera,
right.
Off mic. But there are some things that I'm like, I like the ambiguity and I don't need the full closure.
Sure.
Let's just kind of leave this where it is and just kind of walk away and say, it is what it is, encapsulate that, and move on.
Right.
It took a long time for them to get this made. I understand that the guy shopped it around for a long time.
Interesting.
And had real trouble getting it. And you look at the cast, and it's largely a bunch of unknowns.
Okay.
Even in their own countries.
Sure.
Have had roles, but
sure.
It's, it's obviously not made for American television, but it's doing gangbusters in America.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the same way. I don't know that I need more.
Sure.
And I don't know that I feel like it started out nice and dark and have this premise, and kind of like I'm more intrigued by like the story than I don't need the visuals.
Right.
But that's kind of like Stephen King.
Yeah.
Where what are you reading? This. Oh, what's the premise? Ooh, that sounds awesome. And then you get to the end, and you're like, oh, the plane just went right off the runway.
Yeah.
It was like,
if it would just have done this, maybe it would have been better.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you there.
And I think it's, I don't know. Maybe this is like, glass half empty looking. I think it's just too accurate of a depiction of, humanity.
Yeah, it feels. Yeah.
Is that why I don't like it? Because I don't like what what I saw.
I don't like the mirror you're holding up to me. Yeah,
right?
The reflection. Yeah, I was pretty cool with all the characters in terms of the way they were written.
Sure.
I did have a couple of just like
there's some obvious tropes and obvious kind of characters. You're like, okay, yeah, I see this.
And one or two times I'm like, really, you can knock dial that down.
Let's get rid of this character.
Yeah.
They were fine for this episode. Are they dead yet?
Yeah. Okay. So score that. We do this for games and apps.
Okay.
Out of 1 to 5.
1 to 5. Squid Game. I'm going to give it a 3.5.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Not quite a 4.
No.
Not an 8 out of a 10.
No.
Then that becomes like some of my favorites of all time.
Sure.
But something I would recommend.
Yeah.
If you're listening and you're like, yep, I'm the last guy.
I haven't watched it yet. Heard people talking about it. I will say if you... I mean, I'll say it again. It's intense. Mm-hmm. And it's violent and it's gory. If you have aversion to those things, you will not like it.
Yeah. But I think if you're peripherally aware of it, you already know some of the games that are in the Squid Game. You've seen it.
I mean, if you've been on Instagram or TikTok, you've seen it.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I've been watched Squid Game, finished that. The other thing I was watching, so I have two things. I have real quick. I watched a movie the other night while I was painting some figures. I've been on a painting kick. I've been assembling 40K figures, and I've been wanting to paint some. So I got a couple models from some buddies to paint for them, and so I've been painting. And I was always trying to find stuff to listen to or watch, stuff that won't take my attention, so I can focus on what I'm doing. And on Hulu there was Hansel and Gretel, the 2013 movie.
Oh boy.
14 maybe. It's Jeremy Renner and Gemma Arterton,
I think.
Yeah. And Famke Janssen. Man, this movie sucks. I mean, I want to like it. I like anything that will take this a fairy tale or a well-known story and kind of turn it on its head and go, well, what if?
Yeah.
And this is the story of, Hansel and Gretel, are the ones that were in the witch's cottage with candy and, all this stuff. Well, in the movie, they kill the witch and become witch hunters. and then you find out, the movie's old. I don't care about spoilers. You find out that, they are, in fact, descendant from witches. And then there's this whole thing where they have to stop this witch ritual during the blood moon. And all this stuff happens. And,
wow.
Jeremy Renner's character has some sort of shotgun in medieval times. And
okay, so it's not anachronistic at all.
No. And then her Gemma's character, Gretel, has a machine gun crossbow, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, so the production design, I'll say, is great. The witches look gross and scary,
intentionally and rightfully.
Yes, and some of them look a little over, done, a little cheesy, but they're all gruesome. It's all very creepy and scary. But man, it's just it's not good. It's
not a 6.1 out of 10 according to IMDb.
I would say it's more of a 4.1. I'd say 6.1. I don't know. It feels okay. I guess I'll say it's okay. But yeah, I watched that. So if you ever want to watch a silly medieval monster movie, Hansel and Gretel on Hulu.
Hansel and Gretel, Witch Hunters.
Witch Hunters. Oh, sorry, I forgot that part of it.
It's very important. Trivia: Hansel is diabetic as a result of his experience in the gingerbread house as a child. In the original script, Gretel was also supposed to have an eating disorder as the result of a trauma.
Okay.
That's very important stuff.
I mean, they mention in the movie that Hansel has to eat something because when he was in the witch's cottage, he ate some candy, and now he has to keep eating this thing or he's going to die every once in a while. He's
got to eat insulin candy bars?
Basically, but it never comes back later in the movie. I thought, like, oh, I forgot about that part. Is that, like, is that going to be a thing
Chekhov's
later?
gun? Is it going to be a thing in
the
third act?
Oh, he needs this or he's going to die. Like, no, it's not. It's just, like, why mention that?
Well, why add to this story that takes place who knows when?
Right.
Shotguns and diabetes.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So, anyway, let's get past that.
All right.
The other thing I've been watching on Netflix is a Netflix original. I'm pretty sure it's Sex Education, and that is in season 3 now. As we're on season 3, that is a show about high schoolers in England and just their life, going through life, learning about sex. And the main character, Asa Butterfield, he's the guy, we've seen him in Ender's Game and Hugo. He is the main character. His mom is played by Gillian Anderson, and she is a licensed sex therapist. And so, how the first season is, he starts using some of the knowledge of living with his mom to give advice to his peers. And
that's the thing about high school kids is everybody gets advice from their buddies. Everybody has sex advice from people who've never had sex.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah. My mom is a sex doctor.
Yeah.
She says this. And
yeah.
Very interesting.
But it's a comedy, and there's all sorts of characters, all sorts of characters in this show, different types of teenagers that we've all seen and known, but they're really great, lovable characters. There's characters now. We're in season 3 that in season 1 you were like, I hate this guy, and in season 3 you're like, I love this guy.
Nice.
But it's a heartwarming show. It really handles an interesting subject matter, very straightforward and blatantly. It's not like a shock and awe.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole point of it. It's not it's a stigmatized thing, but it doesn't need to be. I think maybe it's a little bit more interesting for me because I have 2 boys that are, one's a preteen and one is just a little past teenager now. And so it's interesting to think about oh, this is the stuff that they're, heading towards or experiencing now or, that kind of stuff. But it's great acting, good writing. It's a fun show to watch. But yeah, I mean, that's really all I have to say about it is I'm glad I'm liking this new season. And if you've seen it pop up on Netflix, it's worth watching at least the first season just to, try it out. If you don't like it, that's fine. It's not for everybody. But I've been enjoying it.
Cool. I have not watched either that movie, and I will stay away from Hansel and Gretel on your advice and my own gut instinct.
Yeah.
But that is a show that I've seen, and I know that when it comes around for the new seasons, it gets plenty of love on social media and chatter. And it's like, is that for me? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But based off of
Yeah.
and your description, I think I'll probably at least
give it. It's a dramedy.
Give it a poke.
There's some fun stuff, and there's obviously especially with the subject matter, there are funny situations that happen. But it's also can be pretty heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time. So
I thought for a minute when you said that you like the show as you're a father of two, I thought you were going to segue or go into because that proves that I've had sex. But no, I get it. You're a dad. I'm a dad.
Yeah.
We have to, there are birds and bees in our own homes.
There are, yeah.
That you have to worry about.
Yep.
Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, two boys at that age. Whew. One's going to learn and the other's going to learn immediately after.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're two different personalities too. So one's like, don't want to talk about it. I know it exists, but I don't want to talk about it. And the other one's like, what's this?
Yep.
And it's like, all right, these are two way different, takes on the same subject matter.
Come in the room and what's the 411 cool bras?
Yeah,
sit down with them and
what's up, fellow teens?
Yeah. 411. You know what? That actually reminds me of teens. Somehow we were having a discussion the other day with my son and his girlfriend, and we're talking about cell phones, and I forget what we were talking about, but we had described to her that there's a number. She's like, my wife's like, there's a number that people used to call to find out what the temperature is, and it blew her mind. And I was like, that number still exists, and I pulled it right up on my phone and called it. I knew it from calling so many times as a kid. And she's just like, what? Why would, I'm like, because you didn't know.
Because there was no smartphone. There was no internet.
I'm leaving. Is it going to rain tonight? How do I find out? Like, call this number.
I don't have cable, so I don't have the Weather Channel.
Yeah, like.
It's not time for the news yet.
Yep. So I called that and did that. And then we also talked about Star 67.
Oh, yeah.
Star 69.
Yeah.
And then 411. And we asked her, like, do you know what 411 is? And she's like, no clue. And we're like, that's your information. You would call and say, I'm looking for the number for a vet in Akron, Ohio. And they would give you some listings. Or I need this business. Can you tell me the phone number to the Domino's Pizza in Cleveland on this street? And they would give that for a fee.
Right.
And that just blew their precious little minds because the information is so readily available today.
Right.
So, 411.
Yeah. It's amazing that still works.
That's the same phone number that I used to call as a child.
Yeah.
I'm 44 years old, and I knew the number by heart. I'm like, watch this. And
how are they still making money?
Well, that's the thing is you got to listen to like 30 seconds of ads about things going on in town.
Okay.
Saying, sign up for this. And
Right.
I remember when they first got into doing that, they went away from immediately picking up. The time is this.
Right.
And the current temperature is this.
Right.
Now it's what it used to be. The weather forecast is brought to you by, and they'd name some local business.
Okay.
And now it's just ads.
Right.
Pre-run ads and stuff. So
interesting.
But for all the boomers out there that don't know, they're still calling that number.
Yeah. Still paying $1.99 per call.
What a life. What a long lifetime ago kind of weird thing to think about.
Right? What about you? Are you watching anything?
Yeah, a couple things. Over the weekend, I watched on Netflix. I caught up with the last episode of the Chappelle show, or the Chappelle special.
Oh, yeah.
The closer.
Yeah.
Have you watched that?
I haven't watched it yet.
So comedy is always a weird thing to talk about.
Sure.
It's like, I find this funny, you don't.
So subjective.
Yeah, so...
I categorically like Dave Chappelle.
Then you will like this.
Okay.
He doesn't say anything that's really, if you've watched the last 4 or 5 of them, you've mostly seen this.
Okay.
It's treated almost like an appendix to those.
Okay.
And he does bring up topics that he talked about on previous ones.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a coda.
Where are we now?
Yeah, and how like I might have gotten some feedback or a bad rap when I said this or did that, and they tried to cancel me for this, and it's funny. I mean, there's some points where I was like, some of his episodes or shows I've watched, and I will just straight up laugh out loud by myself while I'm sitting there drinking coffee on a Saturday morning. Like, that's when I know it's funny. I'm like backing it up to watch it. Yeah. I didn't have any of that this time, but there were points where I was like, ouch.
Ooh,
he's right. Man,
he does that so well too, though.
Yeah, he just kind of shows you like the hypocrisy, of our culture.
Sure.
And just the way that where do we place our values or fix our gaze?
Yeah.
And what do we go after now?
Yeah.
Who is the hive mind, and what do they decide? And it's good.
Yeah.
It moves by pretty quickly.
Cool.
So I would say if you haven't watched it but you're a fan, certainly check it out.
Okay.
And then over the weekend I did watch. They had some new episodes of the movies that made us.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if you've watched any of those.
I have watched the. I remember watching like Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. Well, I watched the TV shows that made us because I watched the G.I. Joe one.
Yes. This same premise is every so often it'll drop like 5 or 6 episodes.
Yeah.
And this last round seems to be a lot of Halloween themed.
Oh, okay.
So like the first 3 were Halloween, Friday the 13th, A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay.
Then there's also Aliens, the second one.
Nice.
RoboCop.
Yeah.
Coming to America, and I believe another one. They're interesting. Okay. I'm a big IMDb. How did the sausage get made?
Yeah.
What's the behind the scenes stuff?
Yeah.
I like stuff like this.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool show. They're about an hour long. Most of the time, it's full of stuff that you're just like, oh, that's really cool. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And you hear it from the people who were, production assistants or somebody who worked on the set or an actor or actress.
Yeah.
Most of the times it's a couple of bigger names, but not like the director, the lead actor.
Right.
This one was a little different. Like they got John Landis for Coming to America.
Oh, wow.
Sigourney Weaver for Aliens.
Oh, that's cool.
They didn't get John Carpenter for Halloween.
Okay.
But they got a lot of the other people. I mean, they
Nice.
do a really good job of telling the story around and bringing him up. It's not like they're,
Yeah, it's like not like a don't mention.
Yeah,
he's off. Should not be named.
Yeah. We can't talk about him. They even kind of made a little nod at James Cameron in the one about, there was like an inside joke about I know I was there, or I know I'm butchering this, but there were something about we know because we asked or something, and they showed a picture of James Cameron, or he didn't. They don't. Not everybody wanted to talk about it. And showed him, but it was like kind of a reference to, hey, don't blame us. We reached out, but he's probably fast to work on Avatar 93 right now.
Coming up with smell-o-vision.
Yeah. So they're interesting. I like those. Even like movies and stuff, like, last season I enjoyed even like Pretty Woman.
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of like, oh, I didn't know that was the original working title, and I didn't know that the alternate version ended this way, and that this was improvised.
Sure.
RoboCop, I didn't know that they filmed that in Detroit, but they filmed it in Dallas.
Right.
Like, oh, they thought that version of Dallas at that time told a future alternate version of Detroit, and they showed the landscape and some of the new skyscrapers and stuff, and it's like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
Huh.
So
you mentioned Pretty Woman. This is off topic, but I have a buddy who said the other day that he can't stand what's her name?
Julia Roberts?
Julia Roberts, because she is always Julia Roberts in every movie. She's, except for Erin Brockovich, she's always playing Julia Roberts. And I was like, man, that's not really fair. But then I got to think about it, and I don't know exactly where I land on that, because I can see that.
I know. I'm sitting here, and I was kind of like, man, he's kind of right there, isn't he?
Isn't it? I don't want to agree with that, because I feel like I like Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
She always seems like a relatable person.
She seems likable, relatable. She's attractive, but not out of your league. Kind of like anybody could talk to her. And
everything that you see about her and people that work with her are like, oh, she's the greatest, super nice. But yeah, she's always in every movie that's not Erin Brockovich. She is just playing Julia Roberts.
Well, in that, yeah. I've come to feel that with, and this is a complete segue.
Sure.
I'll segue off of your segue.
Uh-huh.
Pete Davidson on Saturday Night Live. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like he can be anybody but him.
Sure.
He just has this, some people you can put makeup on them, haircut, and it's like, oh, that's that guy. That's that role.
It's like Bruce Willis.
Sir, yeah, God. Exactly, like Bruce Willis. Yeah.
Sorry.
I find Pete Davidson to be very much like Bruce Willis.
Right.
No matter
what he's in, you see Pete Davidson.
Yeah, and I don't like Pete Davidson.
Sure.
Like when he first joined SNL, I've watched that my whole life.
Sure.
And there were periods where I'm like, yep, this is really funny. Mm-hmm. I get this style of writing, these people, and in hindsight, you're like, oh yeah, that's because this guy was on the staff at that time, and he was a writer. Right. Like, no wonder I found it funny, or no wonder I still find it funny today. Mm-hmm. He's just one of those guys, and I'm like,
why are you here?
Am I the old man now that doesn't get today's humor?
Well, the answer is yes, right? Because a lot of people love him.
Well, that's weird because when he's on the show and he does he's in a skit and he delivers his lines, he gets these loud ovations, and it's just Pete Davidson being him.
Yeah.
And it's just not funny.
Sure.
And I don't know if that says anything about me or him.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I feel the same way. Like, I've seen things with him that I have laughed at him. Like, I've laughed at what he's done or what he said in the show or in the movie. But generally, yeah, I don't understand the allure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so interesting.
Yeah, and there I could talk about Saturday Night Live in general as like I tune in and watch it out of curiosity and hope that there's going to be a couple of skits that I'm like, oh man, that was really funny. Did you see this episode or this one skit really just made me laugh? But more and more I'm like,
Well, and I don't know if it, I don't watch it enough really maybe to know this for sure. So I'll ask you, it seems like it's changed in the last, I don't know, we'll say 10 or 15 years from being something that is, they have skits where they are obviously doing caricatures or parodies of famous people. But then there's also a good amount of original ideas of, hey, it would be funny if this happened or this situation. And there's, these characters that aren't, they're based on people that we all know, but they're not like a person we all know.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of those, but now it seems like every time I watch it, it's just parody after parody after parody. There's not really any original idea sketches.
Like this Rami Malek was on the last one, and he was actually much more enjoyable than I thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
He did the roles without taking himself seriously.
Sure.
And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There are a couple skits where I'm like, this is kind of funny. I should share this. It's on YouTube. Like, did you see this? But nothing where I'm like, I've already sent it to you.
Right.
It's Tuesday and I haven't sent you anything yet.
Right.
There are a couple things that are just kind of funny, but not a whole skit where I'm like, man.
Yeah.
You can name some skits growing up that you're just like, dude, that was the best when they did this. But I don't know, man. I mean, some of the last couple of years, like I just feel like there's certain people that were still around or are still around from when I really still kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That I'm like, oh, well, man, no. This another week went by where I'm just kind of like,
sure,
man, not as good as I hoped it'd be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll continue to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm not super excited about anything. I do like. I'm always intrigued by who they get as a guest.
Yeah.
And who like shows up as a special guest.
Yeah.
Because somebody's, let's see, Bond.
Yeah.
I mean, he showed up.
Yeah.
Because he's in it as the villain, but you get Daniel Craig. He shows up as a special guest in a skit or two, and so that was kind of cool. I don't know. I'm talking more about Saturday Night Live than I wanted to at this point. Can I move on?
Yes, let's move on.
All right. Let's see. What else we have on the notes here? You have a game that you had been playing, right? Like a board game,
this is a real life game, like a game that you put on a table and play with other people.
Do I have to know real people?
Yeah, to play this game you do. So, but this one is
shout out to friends.
Yeah, shout out to real friends, real life friends, IRL friends. This game is called Hues and Clues. It's available at Target, on Amazon. At your local board game store. It's come out within the last couple months. It's a color game. So what you're doing is there's a board that has all these little squares of almost every color imaginable, and it goes through the whole spectrum of colors. And what happens is on your turn you'll draw a card, and it'll have 4 different colors on it. And what you have to do is you give a one-word clue to everybody else, and they have to try and guess what color you're describing. And so, you might say grass, or you might say ocean, or you might say grape.
Orange.
Yeah.
Grass is orange.
So you can't say like actual colors, but you can say like lavender or coral or periwinkle, but you can't say blue. And so everybody has 2 different little markers, and they put their guess on where they think you're trying to say. And then when it gets back to you, you can decide, I want to reveal what my color was and see where, and show people how close they were, or I can give them another clue, another one-word clue, or a 2-word clue to get them a little bit closer. And the reason you would want to do that is you get points as the clue giver for everybody that's close, but they also get points for everybody that's close. So if there's people that are close to the right answer, but not super close to the right answer, they're going to get points and you're not. So you have to think like, okay, how close are they? Because what happens is you put out, after you decide to reveal the color, you put a little 3x3 size square down with the color that you chose in the middle. And then anybody that's inside that square gets 2 points. And then everybody outside that's connected to the square gets 1 point. And if anybody guessed the correct number, they get 3 points. And so you're trying to get points for people guessing the correct number, but you also don't want people to get too many points because then they would be ahead of you. So you want to have the most points and win the game, but you also want to not maybe give people points that they don't need to be able to go past you and win the game. But it's a very interesting game. It's one of those games where you kind of see how people think and how people interpret colors. It's if I didn't play with anybody that is colorblind, so I don't know how that would be. There's not any like sometimes modern board games have been really good about designing around colorblindness and picking colors that anybody with any sort of color deficiency can see.
Right.
But this one is a full spectrum color game. So if you do have any color deficiency, it probably wouldn't be the game for you. But it is very interesting to see how people interpret colors. Or you'll give a clue and you'll put it down and they're like, that's not grape. Or that's not grass.
Right.
Like, this is grass. Like, oh, no. I mean, to me, that's grass.
Yeah.
Like, so it's interesting to see what people think and how people interpret color and what colors people think things are. You know?
I can imagine how my description would be to default to something, but to think like, no, I have to think like this person.
Right.
If I say that, they're gonna go here.
Right.
I got to think of another word.
Or so we had an example in the game where somebody said sea foam, and I picked picked what I thought it was, and theirs was over a couple rows from what I thought, and I was like, man, I see why you said sea foam, but to me, this is sea foam. Like, I look at your card and your swatch and I go, oh yeah, that's sea foam. But then I look at what you had, and it's hard because these are little, 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch squares.
I'm looking at pictures here.
And there's a whole spectrum of colors all around each other. So it's really hard when you're looking at the whole spectrum of colors to zero in on one square.
Yeah, like any one of these 5 or 6 in this row, I would give you as like a melon.
Right.
Like, crap, man, no. Which one of these is melon?
But if you're off by, 3 rows, that's the difference in 1 or 2 points.
Right.
So it's a really cool game. It's very fun. It's very easy to learn, and you can play with, really anybody.
Is the point to get as many points as quickly to win?
Yeah, so you play, it depends on how many people are playing the game, but generally you play where everybody's a clue giver 2 times, and then whoever has the most points at the end of that wins. But really, you could make your own rules and just play until you're bored with playing.
It says on the box, looks like about 30 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not very long. But that's a really fun game, really fun party game, really fun family game. Like I said, it's available almost everywhere. And I think it was like $25.
Okay. Yep, $25 on Target's website.
Yeah. So, if you're looking for a good game to play with the family or a good game to bring to your next game night, couples night or something, Hues and Clues.
Hues and Clues.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing I had on here, and this is just to bring up quickly.
Yeah.
I'm a big R.E.M. fan.
And
have been for...
Is that you in the corner?
Shut up. Get out of here. I want to edit you out of this.
Boo.
Since like 89, 90.
Sure.
The Green album right before as Out of Time came out in 91. And then I don't know. I use Google Play, not Google Play Music. I use YouTube Music now.
There it is.
And
You've been using it so long that
I had been.
Yeah.
It was, and I really drugged my feet making the change, and now I love
YouTube
where
Music.
I'm at. Yeah. But I like that you can subscribe to artists,
Uh-huh.
and then like it'll kind of make you aware of things,
Sure.
and as you like and thumbs up stuff. But I every so often I will get in different mind frames to kind of just go back and check an album out. And music is one of those things that just really takes you back to a particular time of your life, especially if you came into it at a pivotal moment of your life or formative year.
Sure.
But I noticed that for the last couple of weeks, they've been releasing a new single each week as a remix or an alternate takeoff of something from New Adventures in Hi-Fi, which was like, I want to say 1996.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be.
It's like a 25-year,
maybe a 25th, because they did do something like that for maybe Automatic for the People with the last one. So maybe that's what they're doing. They're leading up to it, but it's interesting to hear certain songs again with a different perspective or a different take.
Sure.
That was a weird album for me. Like, each one was so different from each other, but then as a collective work, it was like they all thread together nicely. But that one didn't have too many songs off it that were radio friendly.
Right.
It was, not something. I'm not sure what's going on. You might be right on the a bundle.
Sure.
I'd have to check the R.E.M. website to see what's going on. But yes, I'm looking at R.E.M.'s HQ, R.E.M. HQ, and there's a bunch of stuff that's sold out. Hi-Fi Ultimate Vinyl Bundle, yep, you are right on as to what was going on. 25th anniversary, some vinyl, some merchandise.
It's always interesting to hear different takes on songs from the artist that originally put the song out.
Yeah.
I think that's the most interesting to me, because it's like, oh man, these guys have been listening and living with these songs for 25 years because they've been playing them. And now they're, and sometimes they're like, just different studio takes. Sometimes they're something that's, just as old as the original when it came out, but sometimes they're like a new take on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, it's cool to see, that's why it's always fun going to live music too, is because songs are slightly different.
Yeah.
Especially if they've been playing the song for a couple years.
You get tired of playing it that way.
And
like, how do we reinvent this?
this song is faster, or this song is slower. Oh, the bridge is slightly different.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, it feels, like what I think music is a living thing. It feels alive. So
yeah. That product expected to ship street date October 29th. So we are right at the 25th anniversary or whatever this stuff is.
Yeah.
I mean, as I was talking about it, I'm like, yeah, it's probably 96, 25.
Yeah.
And it happens to be a whole big thing they're doing. But
that's cool.
That stuff makes you feel old too.
Absolutely.
When you're like, oh, that's 25. Cool. I was already out of high school.
Yeah, no, it doesn't feel like it. So cool.
Yeah. I am also the same way when it comes to like music. I've always I loved CD singles and maxi singles, because you would get like remixes and instrumentals and other versions, and sometimes you'd get remixes from other artists that would be like, well, if you give me the masters and let me play around with it. So yeah, there are a couple of these that I've heard that I'm like, oh, that's really interesting version of that.
Yeah.
And then there was something else that they had done where I was like, let me look at the deluxe version of that album, and it's hours of music, and then there's like live performances that are just different versions. You're like, boy, yeah, I got to see them right as they were putting that album together.
Nice.
I saw them on the Monster Tour.
That's cool.
Yeah, so yeah, it makes me feel plenty old.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. I told my son yesterday, I said, when you get older, you get to be my age, you're going to look at these pictures and you're going to look at things and go, my mom and dad were babies.
Yeah.
My mom and dad were just kids. They had no idea what they were doing.
Yeah.
I watched my mom and dad grow up and I didn't realize it.
Yeah,
you know, it's like we are just now becoming adults with you.
Yeah.
You know, at the same time. So you'll look back at stuff and go, whoa, look how young my dad was.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro, I was cool too one time. I've got stories.
Yeah.
Sit down, let me tell you. You know, like I had friends.
I've been there, dude.
Yeah, I was once like you.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the weird thing, and I think that's the thing. You know, that probably makes me feel the oldest is having kids that are growing up and going, I've been there, dude. Like I get it. I know, and you know, they don't necessarily want to hear it at that time, or they don't believe you, but I don't think I believed my parents either.
Like, you're not relatable. You don't know what I'm going through.
Right.
Like, dude, it wasn't that long ago that I was going through it.
Yeah.
I can describe situations very vividly for you.
Right.
Of what you're trying to deal with or go through, and yeah.
Crazy.
Yep. All right, man. That's it for me. We've got about an hour 10 into it here, so I think it's a good length. I'm gonna hop off here and go look at Pixel stuff.
Yeah, dude.
Pixel 6.
Yep.
My buddy who has been dying to get it had trouble earlier trying to get it. He texted me while we're doing the show and said I finally got it. So
all right,
it'll be showing up here at the end of the month. All right. Now we got to figure out what color we want.
Yeah.
So what are you leaning?
Black.
What?
I'm just a black phone guy.
Oh, there's so many cool sort of colors.
Sort of colors. I like the white one too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just always go black because it's the easiest.
Well, when you throw a case on it, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. I mean, the cases that they came out with, like the kind of the transparent ones that fit with the color palette, are really cool. I'm interested to see if there's going to be cases that make that camera chin seamless then.
I imagine.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I think, for me, I think that's my only, personal hang up with the design is I really like a seamless feel.
Oh, you don't want to have that thing scuffed. You don't want to put it on a table and have it just picking up an errant scratch.
Right.
But if you find the right case, lip around the front, you'll be flipping that thing over.
Right.
With the screen facing the table anyways.
Right.
Showing off that Pixel 6 design.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm ready.
I'm ready as well. Google teased us good and plenty and proper.
And I think they did it. I think they knocked it out of the park. If it does everything that they say it'll do, it's going to be the device of the future. Yeah,
it's already one of the best of the year in terms of just general interest for me. Super excited about it. As you get closer to any type of flagships, that period right up to it goes, I don't know. Are they putting it out because they have to?
Right.
Is it, what's the step forward here?
I'm excited to see it, but now that I've seen it, it's kind of the same that everybody has, so I'm not that excited.
Yeah, this is one of those things where it's like there were so many leaks and things, but when you actually see it work and get to see the pictures and the sound and the translation, that's what makes it cool. That's the stuff that wasn't really spoiled for me.
Right.
And that's the stuff that I think will really wow people when they look over your shoulder and go, oh, I want my phone to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, dude. Let's get out of here.
All right.
We'll see you guys.
See ya.